I've heard people talk about the timeline, the shift, and everything. It's just different, and it's incorporating something that's not very okay at some point. I personally think that they have an interference of a timeline that they're just trying to control, and it's so many people are lost. I bet whatever that's happening in your life, you just witness and realize that the things you avoided or mastered not to do anymore, they're now coming very hard. It's like at some point this timeline it's a different test for so many people in the world. And it's like the way this timeline has been manipulated is to make sure that everything people have worked so hard for is starting to be difficult again. But at the same time, you're at the verge where you can be able to make things possible, but you just get to be tested. But I just can't help but notice that there's so many people that are having a difficult time to merge with this timeline. And I just want to say that this is a test, right? You're just being tested. And if you know your worth in the spiritual view of things and perspective, then it is going to be very easy for you to overcome this. Some of you are in the older timeline with one leg, right? That's why you might be going through a lot at this stage, and the other leg is on this new shift of a timeline, right? This is happening with a lot of people in the world. I can feel it. And it becomes a bit confusing because you just realize that there's some things I overcome years ago. I worked so hard. I'll make it an example. It could be that you overcome this thing of eating meat, but for some reason, ever since the timeline changed, you more like succumb to it. It's like you're eating meat, skipping 1, 2, or 3 days, and you can feel it that why am I actually going back to my old ways? So this is just a challenge, right? You just have to remain in your spiritual position and knowing very well that you've been through a lot, you've worked so hard in order for you to be in a new dimensional timeline, right? You are being tested, and you are supposed to be tested. Some of you won't get a free ticket like that, easy, like everybody, because it might happen that a lot of you don't really, I wouldn't say that you don't deserve it, but you have not proved yourself enough. Not in terms of you doing right or wrong, but according to the tradition of how you do things and customary in terms that affects you to a dietary aspect, right? It's like you really never worked hard for that, but for some reason you're finding yourself in two different timelines, the old one and the new one. And because of that, it's difficult for you now to find your way. And some of you that are in this new timeline, you are like, I don't belong here. You're now getting to be exposed in the spiritual light, spiritual awakening and all of that. And it's just, for you to connect the dots, it's just frustrating at some point. And you're trying to get back to your old ways. Because the beautiful thing about the shift, you are given an opportunity for you to fall back if you don't actually like the timeline, the new one, right? And just because it is a new timeline, it doesn't mean that it's all positive. There are challenges there. That's one thing people need to understand, including the dimensions. Every dimension has its own phase of challenge. Forget about the positive and the negative. That doesn't really matter because it never does really exist. It's like energies or entities. You might actually view them as evil entities or energies or beings. There's no such thing as evil entities or energy beings. All energy is pure, and entities, they're all pure. They just express themselves in a characteristic you are made to believe that such exists, so that they can be able to entertain you in a customary way of enforcing whatever fear you believe in. And if you believe in that, then it's gonna hold on you for so long, right? So all the entities, there's no such thing as bad, good, negative. Everything is just pure energy, I'm telling you, including all animals. And every every aspect of your ascension or timeline shift, time jumping, dimensional shift, or opening different portals has its own challenges, right? In this world, we are known to experience things from a bad perspective and a good perspective, right? In different planes, dimension, timelines, it's also different as well. It's not always one and the same thing. So what I'm trying to say is, don't think because you're feeling yourself that you're mentally shifted in a high dimension that everything's going to be good. No, that's just ignorance. Everything has a challenge, and each and every planetary system, dimension, timeline has a challenge. So which is why this is happening to a collective consciousness of so many people. For starters, there are people that have never worked so hard to be one with this high dimensional phase, but they find themselves with one leg in there. And then it becomes so difficult to you that what is it that's really happening? I don't know all of these things. It's hard for you to merge and understand. And you want to, because of the fact that your other leg is on the old timeline you're used to, you want to go back to that. So it's also an awakening in a different experience with you as well, right? And then it comes with the people that have worked so hard for this, that been meditating, changing their diet. They are there. And there are those that are finding themselves in the new timeline, but their leg is on the old timeline as well. You get to be tested if whether or not what you were practicing, you knew what you were doing, or you were just doing it because everybody was doing it. But if you knew what you were doing, when you get tested, you find your leg on the old timeline of the bad habit you used to do, and the other leg on the new timeline of the good habit you're trying to transform yourself into from the bad perspective of all habits. Then you get to be tested if you knew what you were doing, right? Then there are those that literally now they're in this high timeline. They're happy, right? But they also get to be tested if they don't follow progress in terms of keeping up with what they've been doing. Then it's easy for them to fall back into the old timeline. So all of this thing is not good and honey, right? It's just to be experienced, and it doesn't matter if it happens that you lose it all. If you're able to gain yourself, your consciousness, and collectively, and understand what's really happening, then I'm telling you, you can be able to overcome so much. And all of it is just baby steps. There's a great transformation that'll keep on happening, and more is yet to happen. You just have to realize the potential powers that you have within, and just be one with them at the end of the day, right? So give it time, express your reality, and welcome yourself into this shift in the timeline. And keep in mind, timelines always happen all the time. They've been happening for the longest of time, right? They keep on happening. The only difference is now people are having a conscious mass awakening and awareness to realize all of that.